welcome to Monday Message. This is Jim Moss, and he is co-author of Firefighter Functional Fitness with Dan Kerrigan. And I've been talking to you guys for a few years now, and I'm really happy that you're my first guest on Monday Message. But thank you for being proud of that.
I am proud of it, very proud.
Part of what Yoga for First Responders stands for is partnerships and collaborations, because we can't, none of us can do it all ourselves, especially with a big monster like public safety, who has such an established curriculum of how they do their trainings or mindset about how they do their trainings, right? And something I've always been told working with fire service is we don't like the way things are and we don't want to change.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I know that working with like-minded people and organizations is only going to help both our missions grow. And you've been a partner with us for a while, where we can help each other reach out to more people and get our tools in people's hands. So
that's right. And I'm so honored to be here. I'm glad to be your first guest.
Thank you. So this is the book right here for anyone who's not familiar with it, but it is on our reading list for our Train the Trainers. So for anyone who is attending our Train the Trainer this coming year, you will see this on the reading list. And it's one of the things that you can resource for your essay, for track 3 essay. So that's that. With Yoga for First Responders, I always say I saw a problem and I knew a method of solving it. And I kind of see that with you guys too. So being in fire service, what issue did you see and your program being a way to solve it?
Yeah. So my partner and I, Dan Kerrigan, he's the co-author of the book with me. And so what we saw in the fire service was year after year, the overweight and obesity numbers were remaining the same. They weren't going down. Roughly within the U.S. fire service, it's about 70 to 80% are classified as overweight, and around 35% are classified as obese. Every single year, and it's been for the past decades and decades, every single year, on-duty deaths, the percentage is roughly around 50 to 60% are from heart attacks and strokes. And so, we see this glaring health issue right in front of us in the U.S. Fire Service. And Dan and I said, we got to do something about it. One of the other issues is that it's kind of like an elephant. Like, how are we possibly going to eat this elephant, right? Well, you got to do it one bite at a time. And so what we decided to do is write an online article together for fire engineering. And that was really popular. And we're like, well, I think we have something here. And the whole approach of what we wanted to do is just make fitness simple for firefighters. You and I are on social media. We see how complicated that people can make it with some just crazy exercises, crazy movements. And what we're trying to address is, not the 1% elite athlete that are firefighters out there. We're trying to address the 99% and reach the masses, right? Who don't know what to do, who might be overweight. Maybe they just want to build some better cardio for the fire ground or something like that. They want to be more flexible. They want to have better resiliency, recovery, all the same things that we share a common mindset about. Mm-hmm. And so we saw this glaring problem of the fire services is out of shape. They're overweight, and they need a simple process and a comprehensive process. Don't just do cardio, don't just do strength training, don't just do this or that. We wanted to have a comprehensive, yet still a simple approach for firefighters to have moving forward. And that's how we kind of came up with the Big 8 concept. Right. So instead of teaching, muscle groups like, today is chest day, tomorrow is, calf day. The next day is tricep day, or, something like that, right, where it's strength training. We wanted to make it to where it's the Big 8. And so we were teaching firefighters to build up core strength, to build up flexibility, cardiovascular capacity, and then the 5 remaining functional movements that firefighters do: pushing, pulling, lifting, carrying, and dragging. So that kind of is the comprehensive approach. And then we also added in other chapters of the book, we also added in recovery and rest and how important that is for our performance, our physical fitness. And we also added hydration, which is critically important for firefighters, and nutrition, the main thing that firefighters don't want to really tackle
Right.
is nutrition. We tried to make that super simple for everyone. So like you said, yeah, we saw the problem, and we said we need to come up with a simple, and simple doesn't always mean easy,
Hmm.
but a simple approach for firefighters to implement.
And I'm sure who's watching this now, who's with Yoga for First Responders, who's maybe not as familiar with you guys, can already see the similarities in our approach,
Right.
which is why it's such a good collaboration. And I have two questions from that, from what you said. The first one is, from fire service, why do you think those statistics are so big of the obesity and being overweight? Why is that happening? I have an idea, but I'd like to hear what you said. The second thing I want to ask you is, a lot of people might see an issue and say, well, I know how to solve it for myself. I know how to work out, and I'm not going to be one of those statistics. Where did your passion come from to spread this word to others?
Right. So how did the problem come about? Depending where you take your statistics, 95% or greater of the fire service are males, right?
Mhm.
And so when we all get together, whether we're career or we're volunteer, on call, whatever it is, when we all get together and are at the company at the engine house level and we're with each other all the time, it's kind of like I wouldn't say a frat house hangout, but it's kind of the mindset of like the boys are hanging out, right? And it's that mentality of being like you said, being an alpha male, if you will, and saying, you're not going to tell me how to train. You're not going to tell me how to better my body. You're not going to tell me how to get fit. And so a lot of it can come back to complacency. Some of it can come back to ego.
Mhm.
And some of it comes back to, there's tons of excuses for everything, but some
Mhm.
of it could be, you start having kids, you have a side job, you have two part-time jobs to make ends meet. You're working overtime all the time. And so, busyness is definitely one of the factors that people cite for not putting their fitness, for not putting their health first. Um, a lot of it comes down to culture, and that's really hard because like it's probably better to eat a huge bacon loaded meatloaf with a huge thing of macaroni and cheese. I mean, we're talking about like I said, a bunch of guys eating together and wanting to eat that good comfort food. I've been there. I think we all have.
Mhm.
And so that's part of the culture too, is changing that nutritional, that what we're putting into our bodies food wise, um, slowly changing that on a company and by an individual basis. Our mission statement for Firefighter Functional Fitness is to create a healthier fire service, one firefighter at a time. And I'm sure you have that same mindset for Yoga for First Responders. You can't reach everybody all at once. You have to really go down to the individual and start, planting those seeds with those individuals and
Mhm.
see that culture change start to emerge on the individual basis. And then it can spread to the company or crew level, spread to the shift level, the fire department level, and hopefully you go beyond that to,
Mhm.
many fire departments, so on and so forth. So it's a long process. It's a step-by-step process. But we're passionate about it. So we're going to continue going forward.
Yeah, that's great. And where did that passion come from? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things you could focus on and improving in fire service, like improving in any line of work.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
was this something you're like, I'm going to dedicate? I mean, that's the other part of your life. You're on shift and then you're off shift and doing F3 stuff, right?
Right. Right. So a couple of different factors all came together. I always, worked out and took my fitness seriously, but nowhere near within the last 5 years as serious as I am now. I think one of the things that we just talked about, it was part of it, is just seeing this glaring epidemic in the fire service. Another part was more so on a personal level. My dad, he had type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, he was obese, and high blood pressure. He just didn't take care of himself. So he had all this what we call the metabolic cluster or metabolic syndrome all coming together,
Mm-hmm.
the sleep apnea, all the things that roll together. And he just wasn't taking care of himself. And so in the last, 3 years of his life, he actually went into cardiac arrest, almost didn't make it through all that. And then he had open heart bypass surgery And so through all that, through the end of his life, that was a huge wake up call for me, knowing that a lot of what we have is hereditary, is genetic. And so I wanted to make sure, knowing all the stuff I know about within the fire service, you know, the sleep deprivation, the weird hours that we work, all these different things clustered together. And I was like, well, I need to take even better care of myself. So that was actually a really big wake up call for me, knowing that I have, you know, genetic
Yeah.
history with it all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something that really made it more important, and gave me a greater passion, as you said, gave me a greater passion for taking better care of myself and to spreading that passion to others, for other people to take better care of themselves.